Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be setting up my bullet journal for 2024. It is quite a long video, so if you would like to pause, grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea and settle in and get comfortable. So this year I am using a Yop and Tom journal. It is one that I used not this year but the year before, so 2022. I really enjoyed the quality of the book. I used Ottergami for 2023, but I've gone back to Yop and Tom this year, so that is the option that I am using. I am also gathering a collection of different pens and accessories that I can use to set the journal up for the year. I have some ephemera, some stamps, some bits of paper. I also gather a lot of stickers and things. I am using part of my own journaling kit from Patreon. So that first page you see in the top of the pile of stickers is a variation of my printable from my printable tier on Patreon. So I have basically set out everything in the journal kind of preemptively to see what kind of pages I would need. I thought about everything that I used last year in my journal and decided to tweak a few things, reuse some things and just make it work even better for myself this year. So this first page you see me doing right now is my cover page, and I always like to start with a cover page in my journal just to kind of get a feel for how I want the pages to look in the yearly setup. Although I change up the themes throughout the year, I like the whole yearly spreads to kind of be cohesive. So this is kind of me feeling out how I want everything to look, how I want things to be laid out, using different washi tapes and papers and stickers and stamps, and I just have fun with it. I like to layer lots of things and just play around with my options. Sometimes this is where I will put a quote or I'll put whatever the year is. But yeah, I just have fun with it. So the washi tape that you see me lay down is one of my own. I created 3 washi tapes this year. This is my first time making them, so that was really fun. So that is the abstract washi tape. And then the paper that you see, the brown paper in the background, is also a design of mine. I created a set of designs that had multiple different patterns and colors. So there's like script writing on them, or there's dot grids, and it comes in like a memo pad size, slightly under A6 size. So you just tear the pieces of paper off and use them in your journals for layering and things. So the dark brown one with the script writing on it, that is also mine. The brown paper and the text book one is just bits and pieces that I've gathered. I like to save lots of different things for my journals, so I have a nice bundle of things in my drawer ready and waiting for me. And then here you can see me putting down the Still Growing sticker. This is by Krista, who runs It's Lunaloo. You can find her on Instagram. Her shop is currently closed as of me recording this video because she was moving house. So you can check anyway. I'll try and link it below. I'll link her Instagram at least, and then you can check back if you want to check out her shop. She has lots of really cute stuff. But yeah, I just popped that down. It was just like a little reminder for myself to look back on whenever I'm finding it tough in business. But yeah, I put that down and then I stamped that little, it's like a little fairy with a dandelion. I thought it just matched in quite well with the whole Still Growing thing, just with the idea that the dandelions change from one kind of flower into another. So I thought it was quite fitting. And then I used my sticker sheet called Cosy Autumn. This was created alongside the washi tapes, so I used that to decorate, and I've added a couple of little sparkles and dots and stuff with some pens and colours, and yeah, I'm really happy with how that page turned out. Moving on, we are skipping the first page, which is a vision board page, because I want to create like a mood board, vision board for the year for 2024, but I'm going to make a separate video for that. So I decided to skip that on this video, and you can expect to see that in another video in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that. So next to that then I have started here my future log. So I have popped the calendars down on the left hand side, sorry, and then I've got the boxes on the right hand side. I split them up separately than I did previously. I think I I did it vertically in my last spread, but I found that I didn't quite use the space the way I wanted to. So I've decided to try out a horizontal layout this year to see if I like it better. So we shall see how that goes as the year goes on. I will update you as I use it. Then next up we have my 2023 reflections. And this is basically a page where I like to write out everything that I've kind of thought about the year. So I basically just think about everything I've done, reflect back on how I've felt about things, specifically in here it's for my business. So you could do this for your personal life too. It depends on what your journals are, but this bullet journal I use specifically for business. So I just reflect back on how I felt business has gone, things that I feel have gone well, things that didn't work out, and kind of take note of everything, partially to remind myself of just how much that I've done in the space of a year, because I find I definitely don't give myself enough credit for how hard I work sometimes. So it's nice to reflect back on these things. And then it's a good way for me to kind of move forward with my plans for the next year. So upcoming for 2024, then I can kind of get a better idea of how I want to approach things. And you will see on the next page on that post-it note, it says 2024 intentions. So that's why I like having these pages side by side. So I have my reflections for this year and then my intentions for 2024. So then it means I can kind of move on from the reflections and start to fill out where I want to change things up, how I want to move forward. I can think about kind of goals and things. I don't necessarily like putting things down on paper in terms of hard set goals, that mostly because I feel like sometimes it's hard to know whether I'm going to be able to achieve a certain thing, like especially when it comes to numbers. I have ideas in my head of where I want to go with the business in terms of numbers, but I don't like making those my main goals. So in my last year spreads, when I was doing my 2023 intentions, I did have a list of little things that I will go through and kind of reflect on for this year, but that's not my main focus. Basically, I leave as much space as I can to just write my feelings and thoughts out, and then I can pop a few little ones down at the bottom with numbers in terms of, like, you know, how many sales I would prefer or how many people I want to have on my Patreon, that kind of thing. But like I said before, I don't want that to be the main focus, because I find that then looking back, it feels kind of a lot worse to kind of look back on, and it's something that's quite hard to control. Obviously there's things that I can do to work towards those numbers, but I don't want to feel like I've failed when I haven't reached the numbers, because it's not always necessarily going to be something in my control. So that's why I like having it as more of a written thing, with my thoughts than anything else. So with these pages, you'll see kind of a running theme as I go along. I like having a bit of a header at the top with the kind of title, and then I kind of anchor in the page with some boxes or some sort of layout depending on what the spread's for. So with these ones, they're quite basic in terms of just having one big large space to write on. But in the headers, I kind of follow this pattern of layering different bits of paper and washi tape, and then the header, and in some of them I add little sparkles or other kind of decorative stickers. And I just feel like it really kind of zones in the title of the page, and then I know exactly what it's for. So it makes it really easy to flip through the book and see which page I need to go to whenever I want to look back or fill it in the future. So next up are my quarterly spreads, and this is where I break down the things that I want to do. So although I don't set anything hard numbers for my goals, I obviously have a lot in my mind about where I want to take the business, especially since December 2023, when I'm recording this, I have opened my Patreon. So there's a lot of goals and things that I want to achieve with that. So here I like to set up quarterly pages because it means each month I can have a kind of main focus. If by the end of 2024 I want to grow my Patreon, then I can set aside different goals for each month to get me there, that are actually tangible and workable, and it's not just a number. Being able to promote it and market it and change things up and ask people who are on there already what they think of it. So there's a lot of things that I can do that are manageable and workable in terms of making sure that I am doing what I can to reach my goals. And I like having these spreads because not only can I map out what I need to do for the month that I'm in, and I can kind of write things out, I can look ahead to different quarters and different months to see if I need to change up my strategies of how I'm working things in the business, because I'll see how long I have left in the year and how much I've got done so far. I have found this spread really helpful for this year. Whenever I set it up last year for the first time, I kind of drifted off using it towards the end of the year when things got quite hectic and busy, so I need to make sure to remember to go back to it, and not fall off using it this year, because it was very helpful, especially since I have a lot of plans in terms of my shop and the Patreon and my YouTube. I want to make sure that I am consistent on my YouTube. I've been doing really well. I've had a few where I've missed, but I've been posting weekly. Next year I want to grow the Patreon, and I want to do a more structured output for my Etsy shop updates. This year past, it's all been a bit kind of here and there. I've not really planned majorly in advance, but I do have some exciting plans for the end of 2024 as well. So I need to make sure that I have everything in place and kind of map everything out for the year so that I have a bit of an idea of when I need to get things done by, and having these quarterly spreads are going to be super helpful for that, so that I don't accidentally forget to do something and then fall behind. Especially because I'm trying to run this business whilst I look after my toddler and, you know, look after my household and spend time with friends and family and my husband. So yeah, a lot to juggle. So these types of spreads are really useful for me. And I mean, even if you're not running a business, this can be something that could be really helpful for if you want to plan like around family, friends. Maybe you have things that you want to do at certain times of the year, or you need to map out plans for a personal project. Maybe you're doing like house renovations and stuff, like longer term projects. So these types of spreads are quite flexible, whether you're using them for personal or business. So here you're getting a better look at the page where it's a part of the journaling kit that I have on my Patreon. So I reformatted it into a sticker sheet format so that I could print it onto sticker paper. And I do plan on having some of these in my shop at some point soon too. I just haven't quite gotten to that point yet. But yes, these are all monthly headers. They're like a typewriter style font, and in different colors you can see there. And then I have the headers for each of my pages there as well. I won't necessarily have those as an option on the shop, because I know not everybody has the same sort of things as me, like the YouTube, Patreon, Etsy. So if I put these in my shop, it will probably have more either a blank header that you can fill in yourself, or something more generic, something less specific, just an option that isn't as specific as YouTube or anything, so that more people can get use out of it. So yeah, those will probably be coming to the shop very soon. And if you don't want to wait for them to come to the shop, then you can check out my Patreon, and there will be an option there for a download. I have 2 downloadable tiers. One is the Cozy Corner tier, and that's where you get 1-page printable, and then I have the Dots and Scribbles tier, and that's where you get 4-page printables. The 4-page one is basically where you can set up the entire month, and there's going to be a lot of options there because it's December to help set you up for your new year in your journal too, if you're setting a new one up. So yeah, check that out if you like. But moving on, I've found that setting up these spreads has really got me focusing on the year ahead. I tend to feel like I get a big boost in like twice and it's usually around September time when schools are all starting back, and then again come the new year. I find that I tend to contemplate a lot and think a lot about how I want to do things differently in the new year. And it's not necessarily that I want to do any major changes, but I just get contemplative. So doing all these spreads has got me in that frame of mind, and it's got me excited to think about the future for both my business and my personal life. So yeah, it's exciting, and I would love to know in the comments if this time of year gets you kind of in your thoughts as well, and if it gets you excited to think about the new year and all the possibilities and the things that we can achieve in 2024. Moving back to the journal spread that I'm doing here, I am currently setting up my Instagram tracker page. So I like to keep track of my numbers just to see kind of where I'm growing and what months I seem to do better. Then I can look back on the content that I've been creating to see if there's any kind of correlation between what content I'm putting out, the time of year, and what is resonating with the people that are following. Because I obviously want to make sure that I'm making content that people enjoy. So here I map out 12 boxes, and then each month, once the month is finished, I go back and I can fill in how many followers I have in total and how many I have gained that month. I don't tend to put in whether I've lost or anything. I just kind of put the average number. So if one month I have 10 and the next I have 20, I put that I have plus 10 to that. Instagram does show you if you could have, like, technically you could have gained 15 but 5 have unfollowed. So I just write the equal amount that it ended up being added on. I don't tend to look too much into the people leaving, because they obviously have a good reason to. If they don't enjoy my content anymore, if it doesn't resonate with them, then that's great, because there's no point in somebody sticking around and not engaging when it's not something they want to do. So I like to focus on just the people who are sticking around, because those are the people that obviously want to still see my content. So yeah, I've got my 12 boxes mapped out here, and I will be able to fill those in monthly. I found this really useful in my spreads for 2023, and actually it was very beneficial to look back on as a positive note too, because there was probably times during the year that I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere, or I felt like I wasn't growing. And honestly, a lot of that was just in my head. It was me feeling kind of imposter syndrome. And when I was able to look back on my journal, it proved me wrong. There was obviously still a lot of downtime and periods where I was not gaining as many followers on Instagram or, orders in my shop and that kind of thing. But having everything there on paper really helped kind of prove to my brain as a fact that I have achieved a lot and done a lot, and actually I'm doing better than what my brain is telling me. So it's a very useful thing to do, even in my own personal kind of writing in my journals, outside of my bullet journal, which I use mainly just for my business stuff. It is really handy to write down things that you've done throughout the year in your personal life, because I find our little brains tend to lie to us a lot, and it's really hard to prove it wrong when you don't have any kind of like physical proof of that, because there's no way for your brain to kind of connect the dots there. Like you can sit and convince yourself, but it's easier to kind of prove to yourself if you have it there in front of you on paper. And I don't know how many times, I can't count how many times I was looking back on my journal this year, and it made me feel 100 times better, because I was able to see physically there on paper just how much work I'd done. Even recently, I launched my Kickstarter, which was a success, and it was really good. And then whenever not long after that, I was kind of mapping out my whole Patreon situation, and I could feel the imposter syndrome creeping in very heavily whenever I was doing that. And it really took me kind of sitting down and realizing like how much I'd achieved and how I'd like just finished a successful Kickstarter. So yeah, it's funny, these little brains of ours, the way they do these things. So I highly recommend, whether it's for business or personal, writing things like this down, even if it seems like it's kind of menial at the time. You never know when looking back on it might help you during your days. This is why I am such a huge advocate for journaling in so many different capacities, because I find not only the process of doing it is a really nice mindful activity. It really kind of it's like a meditative state for me. I never really did meditation. It didn't sit with me. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't like calm my thoughts the way that I was always told to. Whereas whenever I sit down with all of my like pens and my stickers and my stationery, I find like I go into the Zen mode and I just zone out, and I'm not like stressed out thinking about a bunch of things. It just gives me time and space to relax and let my brain kind of chill for a minute. So this is why I'm such a big advocate of journaling. And I know it might seem silly because this journal I'm setting up is for business stuff, and that could be a stress point, but setting this up, the actual process of setting it up, is super relaxing for me. And then it also benefits me in the long term too, because it makes me feel like I've got a lot more organized, and I can keep everything in the one place. It helps me look back, it helps me move forward, and yeah, it's just I find a really, really, really good tool for both mindfulness in general and for organization in my business. So it's a win-win. So I highly recommend. That was a bit of a tangent. Anyway, the next page that I'm setting up here is the one beside it, the page for all of my YouTube stats. So similar to the Instagram one, I like to write everything down for my YouTube as well, month to month, how many hours people have watched, how many people have subscribed, and again, it just gives me a good idea of which months are better on YouTube, which months I've done content that people seem to like better, and so it's just a great way for me to be able to track all of that. And it worked well for me last year as well, having everything laid out. I have changed the layout slightly because I want to be able to record things a little bit different than I did last year. If you haven't seen last year's video also, I will link it in the cards as well, so you can check that out. Some of the pages are the same, some of them are different. I might have used the same page with a slightly different layout, like the Instagram one and the YouTube one. I had both of those pages in my journal last year, but I have changed the layout slightly just to kind of benefit me a little bit better this year. So you can check that out if you would like to have a better idea of what I've done previously and what I am now changing it to this year. And these next few pages are 2 more trackers. This one I'm currently working on is my Etsy tracker. So here I can look at each month what how many orders I've had, how many sales of products I've had, what my conversion rate is, and it gives me a better idea again of which months are better on Etsy, and if I need to tweak things and change things month to month, and how I can kind of advertise my shop stuff a little bit better if sales are low one month. Again, it gives me a little bit of a boost and encourages me to try something different if I have lower numbers one month. Again, here I am using my Cosy Autumn sticker sheet to decorate a little bit here with a few of the cozier stickers on the sides of the header. I also am using my Lamy fountain pen to fill in the months and the header titles for this one. I have been using my Lamy a little bit more recently. I'm trying to get used to using a fountain pen again. It's been a long time since I've used one, so it's been interesting getting to use it again, but I've been enjoying it. I am excited at some point in the future to order some different coloured inks because I would love to see how it looks to write with brown ink in my journal. I do use black quite a lot, but I love the idea of using brown, so I'm excited to try that in the future, and I'll be sure to let you know how that goes if I do it. On this next page, it is for a Patreon tracker. There are a couple of things that I would like to track on Patreon, and that is because I do the digital downloads of the journaling kits, I want to track each month what the theme is going to be. So it's something I'm going to talk to my patrons about. They get to vote on it and we choose what options there are. So I want to be able to track each month which ones I'm doing to make sure that I'm varying them enough so that they're interesting and they stay fun to use. But I also want to track how many Patreons I have each month as well, so that I can kind of look back and see where things are dipping and where I can improve, or just to kind of have an idea of how far I've come from month to month, which is always good to be able to look back on. So this is a new spread for me. Obviously I've only just opened my Patreon, so I don't have anything for my 2023 journal, so it's going to be fun to fill this one out this year and have it as a new spread. Again, the header for these, it's basically the same as what I've done before, where I add the layered papers with the brown paper and the textbook paper, along with some washi tape and the printed header that I've created myself with the typewriter. I switched up the colours of the typewriter headers so that I didn't have the same colour the whole way through the yearly setups, just because I didn't want it to look too samey. I wanted it to all look cohesive, but yeah, so that's why I have created those monthly headers in a couple of different colours. So hopefully my Patreons will like that whenever I send out the printable this coming week. I would love to know what kind of things you track in your journals, whether that's for business or personal. I always love hearing and seeing what other people do to see if there's something that I can use and tweak for myself and add into my own journals. I like switching things up, and I watch a ton of different bullet journal setup videos too for ideas as well, because there's been so many times where I've watched something and it's like this light bulb goes off whenever I see a certain spread being used. I'm like, why have I never thought to do that before? And I've had people say that about mine too, which honestly feels a bit surreal. But it's really lovely to know that there are people who are benefiting from my journaling videos and being able to get some ideas of things that can benefit them throughout the year as well. I love putting my videos out there for people to put on in the background while they journal too, so that they can relax and kind of feel like they've got some company while they're journaling. But on top of that, it's like an extra bonus benefit that I hear that people are getting ideas and benefiting from the kind of spreads that I'm doing and getting ideas from them. So that feels really nice to hear. I would love to know if you've ever used any of the spreads that I've done too, so feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, let me know what kind of spreads you use, whether you use things to track for your business or if there's any personal ones. I know there's a lot of people who would use spreads for like reading and that kind of thing. I had a whole other bullet journal for a reading journal last year, and let me tell you, that did not work out. I just completely fell off the wagon of reading, and I started really strong at the start of the year and then I just completely fell off. So I ended up not really using that journal. I have plans to do kind of like a reset with my reading, because I want to make sure I'm setting more time aside for myself and my hobbies outside of work. Although I love journaling and it relaxes me, I want to make sure I'm varying the things that I'm doing as downtime, because obviously this is still work for me, so I need to make sure that I'm giving my brain a proper break from it. I am doing a lot of crocheting recently, which I love, but I want to get back to reading, and I have a whole plan to try and kind of get myself back into the swing of things. I might be making a video about that, just to kind of give people an idea of what they can do if they're feeling like they're in a slump and they want to get out of it, or if they want to not feel bad about creating a journal and not using it and then resetting it up for the next year, because there's no way I'm putting that journal to waste. There's been maybe 10 pages used in it, so I'm going to go back and kind of go through it, see what I want to see, if there's anything I can use from the previous setups, and if not, I'll just not look at those pages, skip a page and go on to the next ones and refill it out for 2024, with a lot less pressure and hopefully a better structure for my whole reading thing, because I always loved reading and I would love to get back into it a little bit more, as I said, with my hobbies. So I am excited about that, so keep an eye out on my channel, because I do plan to hopefully document a little bit of that in the coming weeks, as well as the vision board video. I'm not really sure about when each video is going to come out. It just sort of depends on how busy I get over the next couple of weeks with Christmas and holidays and all of that stuff. I'm sure a lot of you are excited for some downtime coming to the end of the year, whether you celebrate or not. It is nice to wind down after a full-on year, whether you have had a lot going on personally or in work. I hope that you get some time to rest at the end of the year. So here I have actually gone back to the reflections and intentions pages. I decided that I would fill in every other space with this coloured marker, because it will make it a lot easier for me whenever I am writing line to line to read it, and I just think it'll look a lot nicer in general as well, and add a little bit more colour to the page, because they're very, very white pages, and this colour of marker just blended so well with everything that I was doing. It is a brush marker from Violet Studios. The only issue is none of them had like numbers or colours written on them. I think I showed this one at the very start of the video, but unfortunately they weren't colour coded, so every time I go to use them I forget what the colour is, which is kind of frustrating. So in the back of my 2023 journal I swatched them and I've like named them myself, and you can see on this one, maybe if you look closely, I have a little sticker with the name that I've given it on it, so that I know which one it is, because yeah, I was having to swatch them every single time I wanted to use them because I couldn't remember. They all look quite similar on the outside and different on the inside, so yeah, I had to do that. So I would advise, if you get any pens with no colours on them, to swatch them somewhere and keep a track of it so that you don't have to swatch them every single time, so that it is not a waste of marker and time. But yeah, I love how it's all turning out for this spread, and I'm excited to fill them all out. I'm really happy with how all of the spreads have turned out for the year, and hopefully they give you a bit of an idea of what you can put into your journal for the year upcoming, and give you a better idea of how to lay everything out. These are my final spreads for the whole of the journal, and these are basically just like a space where I can write lots of ideas or thoughts. I didn't want to call it a brain dump. I don't know, I just don't like the title, so I've called them side quests. So I have all of these plans for the year, and I have my main ones that I want to focus on, but I know, being a creative, I just have 101 ideas, and I can never keep track of them all, and they are all always ended up I write them in like my notes on my phone, or a random page in my journal, or a random page that gets lost. So I figured if I could give myself these 2 pages, anytime I get an idea that I want to think about coming back to, I can pop it in here. It means then it's nice and secure in my journal. I know where to go back to and look. And then if I'm feeling like I have more time on my hands, or I want to get another kind of new project going, I can just look back on these pages, and it'll be a lot easier for me to keep track of everything. So yeah, that is everything all set up. I accidentally didn't show my cover page in this flip through, but you'll see a close-up of it. But I'm really, really happy how it's all turned out. I'm excited to start using it and get into it to see if the spreads work for me better this year than they did last year, with the few tweaks that I've done. And I will keep you updated on that as I go. I put up monthly plan with me videos for my monthly spreads, and so I'm thinking I will start to flip back to my yearly spreads while I'm filling them out, to keep you updated on how they're going. Here is that close-up that I told you about. So I'm really happy how everything has turned out. I am excited to get filling it in. I'm excited for 2024 and everything, all the possibilities that it has. And I hope that you are too. I would love to hear below all of your plans, whether you're journaling, whether you're using a bullet journal or changing it up. I have lots of plans to switch things up. I'm for sure using this as my business journal, but I have plans to experiment a little bit with some other ones, like the Hobonichi, or use my traveler's notebook a little bit more. So keep an eye out for some fun videos coming up with all of that kind of fun experimentation. And if you use any of the ones that I mentioned, please let me know. I would love to know your thoughts. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I feel like I've been chatting for ages, and the video is about to end, so I will leave you with this montage, and thank you so much for watching to the very end. It's a bit of a chunky video, so I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. As always, stay cozy, and I will see you in the next one.